Welcome to Leadership Rediscovered. I'm your host, Laura Siebold, and today I am thrilled to be joined by my beautiful friend, Diane Tarantini, who is the author of The Brave Knight. Diane, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me, Laura. I'm super excited.
I know, I'm excited too. Diane hails from Huntington, West Virginia, but now calls a 112-year-old Sears Kit house in Morgantown home. Tarantini earned a bachelor's in journalism from West Virginia University and later an MFA in creative nonfiction from Converse College. Her recently published children's book, The Brave Knight, was chosen to be distributed to each of the 7,000 foster children in West Virginia. In addition, the West Virginia Library Commission chose The Brave Knight as the 2023 summer read for every library in the state. Just let that settle in for a moment. Every library in the state. Tarantini not only writes award-winning stories, she is also a body safety educator in the state of West Virginia, and she blogs and writes off and on for the West Virginia Daily Mail newspaper. Diane!
Yes!
Okay, I'm so excited. You are a published author, and there was a statistic I found and came across recently that has just continued to blow my mind, and it's that 81% of Americans wish to write a book, but less than 1% actually do.
Yes.
So I would love for you to take us on a deep dive of how you actually achieve that goal, because it's just so rare to do it.
It is rare. I sometimes tell people that aside from birthing and raising three excellent humans, birthing this book is one of the things I'm most proud of, because the 1% statistic says it all. It's not easy. It's not easy to do. So if you want to know the journey, like this time last year, everything was different. The book has changed everything. So this time last year, I had basically 3 books in process.
Gotcha.
There was my memoir manuscript, which anybody out there who has endeavored to write a memoir will probably be told no over and over.
Wow.
Because if you're not a celebrity with a giant fan base or platform, agents and publishers aren't going to want to take a risk with you. But I did have a high-level agent who really liked my writing, suggest that I create a self-help book for teens based on my circumstance. Okay. So I have experience with CSA, which is child sex abuse. Okay. It's very common. 1 in 10 kids will experience that in America before they're 18. So I have started a project to help children in that circumstance or grown-ups who know someone who might be. And then one day, when I was starting out as a body safety educator, Robert Peters asked something expansive of me. He is the founder, and at the time he was executive director of SHIELD Task Force, which endeavors to end child abuse and neglect in West Virginia and beyond. Wow. So he said, Diane, you're a writer. Might you write a children's book that shows kids in a non-threatening way what grooming is? And in child safety circles, grooming is a process by which a sexual predator will gain the trust of a potential victim and sometimes their family. So to do that in a non-threatening, non-creepy way for children, it was a daunting task. Yes. And we did a creative brainstorm and kind of said the book needs to have this and this and this. And honestly, that was a Tuesday night. Not long before the pandemic hit. Wow. And I went to bed intimidated and terrified. I don't know if in your work life you ever had that experience where you were given an assignment and you're just unsure if you can.
Don't feel like maybe you're equipped to do it.
Yes. But the craziest thing happened. 4 days later, on a Saturday morning, I woke up and the story was fully formed in my
Oh
brain.
my gosh.
So I walked over to my computer and I typed out 1,600 words and I read them to my husband, Tony. And he said, I don't know where that came from. I said, I don't either.
But
I'm
God, it
grateful.
did come.
I am grateful. I am very excited.
Yes.
And then I sent it to Robert Peters and he's like, I don't know where that came from. How you did it, it's perfect.
Oh, wow.
And it really was perfect, about 90% perfect, which is extraordinary in a writing project. Some people spoke into it and made it better, which is always a good thing. But then in rolls the pandemic, and then comes the lockdown. And then my project is perishing on the vine. But at the time, what you have to know is I was a communications director at the nonprofit Libera, which serves the women and children, women and teens of West Virginia by helping them identify and then deal with obstacles in their lives. But when the pandemic came and the shutdown happened, the staff and the volunteers of Libera could no longer go into schools.
Right, because that's a huge part of what Libera does,
Yes.
is go into schools and
Yes.
listen and
Oh, my
provide
goodness.
resources. And that was gone.
We would tell any student, you can tell us anything. And if you need a private room, we've got that. And we would run small groups where we just equip kids for life. But they wouldn't let us in anymore. So Karen Herring, the founder of Libera and the executive director, said, if we cannot go in and provide resources in person, why don't we send the resources in?
Love that.
And the Love Pack Project was born. We get cute little nylon, colorful sling bags, and we stuff them full of emotional health and mental health resources.
Yes.
One of the resources is always a book. So one day when we had like the assembly line of all the things, the pressure balls, the coloring books, the snacks, the books on anxiety and depression in teens, my job is opening boxes of books.
Oh, how perfect.
From one of the
other people's books.
Other people's books. From one of the big 5 publishers in New York City. And I looked at the cover of the book, and it's an excellent book. It is. But it was a light bulb moment. It was everything changes right now. And I said, this could be my book. Because what I knew about what I had produced was, it was a story that would help kids identify someone who was looking to groom them with the end game of physical abuse. But also what happens in the story is that children learn that they have a superpower.
Yes.
And their superpower is their words and their voice. And also, I had the inspiration to put resources in the back of the book.
Love that.
So there's the story that shows them what it looks like, the language that comes at them, the behavior that comes at them, even the way the person on the other end feels, alone, isolated, sad, like maybe it's my fault.
Right.
But then they learn that they can use their words and their voice. But then the resources show them how to identify 5 or more trusted adults.
That's awesome.
That they can talk to, parents, educators, coaches, dance instructors. It teaches them how to make a safety plan. If blank happens, then I will blank. And they can do that for anything that scares them. If the bully tries to steal my lunch money, then I will.
Yeah, these are those life skills that you're talking about that help you with many things in terms of when you need to use your voice and where you use your voice. And
then I also have a page that's a list of resources, like child sexual abuse website, sexual assault, National Crisis Text Line.
Yes. 24
hours a day, every day of the year. Human trafficking. And then, unfortunately, something we saw a lot in Libera is when you're having suicidal thoughts, like your life is that difficult.
Yeah.
And you just don't know if there's another choice. So those are all in the book. In the event that you feel like I can't even tell my trusted adults.
Yeah.
And honestly, Laura, I was 35 when I finally disclosed to the level that someone could help me professionally. Guess what the average age is that a person will disclose?
If they
something bad
even, I
happened
feel
to
like
me.
there's
If
probably
they
people
even.
that don't even.
It's 52 years old.
Oh my gosh. What a burden to
It's
carry.
half your life.
Yes.
And you will only disclose when you feel really safe.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
Sometimes that person passes away or moves out of the country. But anyway, foster children became someone that we felt really needed love packs.
Yes.
If you're going to identify a group of at-risk kids in a state, it's going to be their foster kids.
Yes. And remind me the statistic because
Yep.
it's so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But I know that they're even at greater risk for abuse,
Yes.
which just is.
Yeah, Johns Hopkins says that a foster child is 4 times more at risk for abuse than a child in a traditional family.
Yeah.
So I knew that even though this book on anxiety is really excellent,
Right.
that my book was really good for foster kids.
Yeah.
And we decided, Karen decided, the executive director and then us as a staff, that we wanted to get a love pack in the hands of every single foster child in the state. And as you said, there's at least 7,000.
Yeah. 7,000 foster children in West Virginia.
Yeah. So I had this light bulb moment in our packing, our assembly line moment. And 1 week later was my annual review.
Oh,
at
good
Lidera.
timing.
And so after we talk about my performance in the past, 6 or 12 months, Karen, being an excellent leader, an excellent boss, says, is there anything I can do to advance your writing career?
Oh, such a good question.
And I'd hoped something like this would happen. So I kind of practiced it. And I said, yes, you can consider making my book one of the resources in the love packs. The good news is, she said, let's do it.
Yes. Yes.
The bad news is my illustrator and I had 6 weeks to make it happen.
Wow. Yeah, because there's a whole, you can have a manuscript. You tell me what
Yep.
the right language is, but
Yep.
I mean, you can have a manuscript, but that you still have to publish. And 7,000 is a lot of
Yeah.
copies. I mean, I wouldn't, as a non-writer, I wouldn't know exactly how to even go about doing that.
The first thing I did was reach out to another high-level agent who liked my work and said, guess what? I can sell 7,000 books. She said, tell me more. That's a big number.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And I told her about the project. And she goes, when are these books needed? I was like, December 12th, 2021. She's like, you understand that to get a book traditionally published, it takes 2 years.
Wow.
And
And
I
that's
said-
probably pre-pandemic times, I'm assuming,
Yes.
too. And,
Yes.
that just slows everything
And I
down.
said, that's unacceptable.
Don't have 2 years. I need it
Don't
in
have
6
2
weeks.
years. So I said, so are you telling me I should self-publish? Like any literary agent would ever tell you to do.
Right.
And she goes, what I'm telling you is to self-publish with excellence.
Oh, I like that.
And then my illustrator, who is Jessie Herring, she's a
Who's
super
fabulous.
talented artist.
Yes.
She has a degree in photography and painting from WVU. Really has the amazing secondary occupation of being a licensed professional counselor.
Yes. Yes.
So she was my first pick, and she read the manuscript. At first, she balked because writing a book for kids about grooming,
Right.
ew.
She's like, how am I supposed to draw that?
Yeah, she's like, I think I'm busy.
Yeah.
I'll take a look and let you know. But then she got back to me, I think maybe within the hour, definitely within the day, and said, I want on this project. So we then had to figure out how to get a book from concept to printed copy in your hand.
Yes.
So, Laura, there's something you may not know about me. I have a superpower that not a lot of people have.
Tell me.
I'm really good at asking for what I need.
Yes. 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 Yes.
So I had a friend in West Virginia writers, Nicole Smith, who had self-published, independently published, whatever you want to call it, 2 novels from idea to upload on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, she had created a 12-step, are they called workflows?
Yes.
Yeah. For creating a book from an idea.
Nice.
And so this is how I created the book. The first thing I did, which Nicole did not do, is I started a publishing company.
Yes, and tell us the name, because it's written in the inside of the book, and I love the name.
Yeah, it's Heard Communications.
Heard. I love it.
Because your story deserves to be heard.
Yeah. I love that name.
I'd been thinking about it for a couple of years after getting so many no's.
Mm-hmm.
You're not a celebrity. Sorry, this topic is pretty saturated.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, what if I could be a publisher who, if you've got a quality story, if you're committed to book promotion, I will partner with you. I will do that. So the idea was already there. The name for the company was already there. So I got an LLC, and then I wrote out all of Nicole's 12 steps on index cards. And every morning I would lay them out like on my kitchen table in the order that I thought they needed to be accomplished. And I just started chipping away at them.
Wow.
So
very quickly, though.
Very, very quickly. So I actually wrote a list. I'm going to consult my list of just some of the fun things I had to do.
And I appreciate you going. I mean, I know I'm asking you to go on a pretty deep dive, but this is a process that I think, again, you've got 81% of people who want to write a book, less than 1% actually do. I mean, you're going through, these are the steps that you have to take to
really true.
Bring this to life. So sorry, I didn't mean to
no problem. So I had to buy ISBN numbers.
Now you're taking me back to
which are for bookstores and for Amazon.
Yep.
I formed my LLC. I met with Jessie. We had to figure out, she'd done maybe 1 or 2 drawings.
Wow.
She then had to do like a couple dozen.
A lot, yeah.
And then we had to decide, this is going to be a spread illustration. It's going to cross the gutter of the book. We're going to put this in the left corner and wrap it with text. We had to figure all that out for ourselves.
Yeah, the design of the everything.
I had to get a quote from a printer and say, are you willing to work with someone who has no experience whatsoever? And they're like, we actually do this all the time. Really? Using my newfound savvy business sense, I chose a printer that was in driving distance.
Smart.
So that I didn't have to pay shipping because books are heavy.
Smart.
I gave Jessie a deadline for the drawings, and she beat it. Some people really work well with a deadline, and she's one of those people.
That's awesome.
We had to find a children's book formatter. I couldn't do it. I didn't know what it entailed. Jessie didn't know what it entailed. So this is actually a funny story. I got on Fiverr.
Yes.
Which is an online gathering place for creatives.
Like freelancers, right?
And they are very cost-friendly people. So all I did was type in the search field, children's book formatter. And I picked the person with the most.
That's a thing.
I picked the person with the most 5-star reviews.
Oh my gosh!
And signed on the line. Gave him my credit card number. And then the next day, I learned that he's in India.
A little bit of a time zone difference there.
I cannot tell you how many times I Googled, what time is it in India? He had a brilliant work ethic. He would go to bed at 1.
Oh my gosh.
And then get up at 7 their time. There was one time when I sent him a task or a change to do, and he goes, Miss in America, may I sleep first?
Oh.
I was like, absolutely. Yes. A good boss.
Yes.
Believes that their contractors should be well rested. Yeah. But oh my goodness, he rescued us so many times. Yeah, he was wonderful. So he accomplished everything that we needed.
That's amazing.
To accomplish. Then I had to get, oh my gosh, I had to get the front and back cover designed.
Ooh, yes.
And honestly, it's one of the things people love the best.
Yes.
When people are like, how?
Show it again.
How did the book get to be green?
That's
I'm like,
so
well,
pretty.
that would be Dawn Patton, the graphic designer, who's also a native West Virginian.
Oh, very
cool.
So
he's from Cross Lanes, but he now lives in Atlanta. And he, his fiance is one of my best writing friends and my
Nice.
first writing mentor. And I sent her the manuscript. She read it out loud to him, and he goes, "I love it. I will give you an excellent price on this."
Aw.
So I love that the project has an author, an illustrator, and a cover designer
Yes.
from West Virginia.
I love that.
And then at one point in the creative process of the cover, there was a little disconnect between kind of what we wanted, what I wanted, what Jesse wanted, what Dawn wanted. And I did this thing, and I think it's a good thing. I said, "I love you both. I believe in your skills. Here's Jesse's email address. Here's Dawn's email address. Talk amongst yourselves."
Yes.
And I'm out.
Stepping away from this. I'm not going to be the middle person.
Dawn later said, "That's very unusual.
Really?
We usually get micromanaged to death.
I could imagine.
They just want to weigh in and control and give their opinions."
Yeah.
And he said he really appreciated that in me. And
Yes.
I was excited that I did something right as a baby entrepreneur. Another thing that I did in this pregnant pause of the pandemic, I think this was already in place before the 6 weeks ticking time bomb went into place. I asked my daughter, who is a preschool through 6th grade teacher in Virginia,
Perfect.
to create those discussion questions
Perfect.
and extension activities for parents
Nice.
that are like, "I read the story. I want to keep this conversation going with my child because it's really important. I'm not with them every minute of every day." And then we did the extension activities and added, the phone numbers and whatnot. So I love that. That's another very popular component of the book. Educators really appreciate that.
Yes. And parents.
Yeah. So we got everything done. I think sometimes I talk in West Virginia East.
I
and
love
so
that.
one of my favorite sayings is "skin the rump." You're just cutting it close. You are cutting it close. And we cut it so close. I don't think we were able to get a printed proof for the book.
Oh my gosh.
We had to sign off.
That takes a lot of faith.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
We had to sign off on a PDF.
Oh, wow.
And so I looked at it. Jesse looked at it. We sent it to Nicole to look at. And I had a phone conversation with the pre-press tech at our printer, and he said an extraordinary thing. He said, "I have to tell you, of all the projects we've ever printed, yours is probably in the top 5%.
Oh my gosh. Why?
I said,
why is that?
Excuse me?
Yeah.
I said, "Could you repeat that?"
Can you put that in writing,
again. Please? Okay. This is another superpower of mine. Years ago, I recognized in myself perfectionist tendencies.
Oh. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have this.
Yeah. They can drive you crazy and they can keep you from getting things done.
Yes.
But I determined to be an excellentist.
Striving for excellence.
Striving for
instead
excellence.
of perfectionism. Yes.
You put out great quality, but you're not limited by wanting it to be greater.
Yes.
So I knew that we'd be going to press more than once.
Ah. See, I wouldn't have even thought that. I would be like, all right, just print all 7,000. Let's go. Box them up.
Yeah. So I told Jesse, one of the things that I do is I listen to a lot of podcasts like yours, business and marketing, and I'd heard Seth Godin say, "Better done than perfect."
Yes. Yes, because he always talks about shipping it. You got to ship it.
So in the 6 weeks when I look back at what Jesse and I would have been willing to print, the first iteration, like I'm not 100% sure I would have been proud of that.
Yeah.
But it would have been done.
Yes.
And kids reading through that story and getting that content one time, that was the goal.
That's the goal. That's what matters.
And they're not going to say, "I'm not sure about that font choice, Miss Tarantini."
Yes.
They won't care. They won't care. But in the 6 weeks, we actually had the opportunity to iterate 4 times.
Wow.
Before we went to press.
Wow.
And it just kept getting better and better and better.
Yes.
But so that stood me in good stead. But you asked, like, why did they love our project?
Yeah.
They worked with a lot of first-time authors.
Okay.
They worked with a lot of first-time authors whose mom or wife or cousin edited the book.
Gotcha.
Or their next-door neighbor drew the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And they were maybe not even excellentists.
Mm-hmm.
They just wanted to hold their thing in their hand.
Yes.
And Jesse and I are like, no, each time we go to press, we want it to be the best.
Well, this is publishing with excellence.
It's publishing with excellence.
Because you also didn't try to be the author, the illustrator, the graphic designer, the everything, right? The formatter.
One thing I love to do, I don't know if it's a superpower, I've always loved to identify people operating in their giftings. Maybe they're undiscovered, and pay them.
Yes, to do what they do best.
To do what they do best.
Yes.
Or connect them with a business owner that needs someone with their skills.
Yes.
And to pay them well.
Yes.
Not a pittance. Not like, does anybody know someone who will give me a really good price on formatting?
No, you're going to get excellence with this person.
Yeah. So yeah, that's oh my goodness. So on December 10th, my husband and I drove up to the printer in a beer van. Because what you might want to know about
beer
us.
van. Yeah. Let's just repeat that.
Yes. Our family business, my husband's family business for more than 50 years is Ralph's Beer Distributing.
I love it.
And so we drove up in our beer van and pulled into the warehouse, and there is a stack of books on a pallet.
Oh my gosh.
And there's one copy of my book, Baby, on the top.
Oh.
And the guy on the forklift said, we thought you'd want to see it really fast.
How kind.
And I did.
Yeah.
I did. And then one of the gals from out in the office came out, and she's like, it's so good to meet you. We've, enjoyed working with you. And she looked at me like head to toe. And I was in green.
Right.
And she said, did you dress to match your book? I said, yes, I did.
Sure did.
I did.
Fingernails and all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But in that moment, when we talk about light bulb moments, pivot moments, breakthroughs, I knew I was crossing this chasm from writer to published author.
Yes. Yes. Huge.
Some people say I didn't even flinch. It's no difference. I'm a writer. I'm an author. And I felt the difference.
Well, massive milestone. And I think what's interesting about it is that the path was different than what you anticipated, because probably in your mind you always had it as memoir.
Yeah.
I'm going to publish a memoir for adults, I'm assuming, to read.
Right.
But this is the path. It's a different path that got you to that destination.
Yeah. One of my life philosophies is never say never. But I kind of thought I'd never write a children's book.
Yeah.
I never thought
Which is
I would.
funny in hindsight, because you do a lot of work with children.
Oh my gosh.
With your body safety
Absolutely.
education and I mean, you're just amazing.
Yes.
I mean, I have not had the good fortune of going to one of your story times, but I can't even imagine, because I know you bring props and do voices and all kinds of things.
The one thing there's things in my life that I'm like, I don't even know when this is going to come in handy. But I'm comfortable in front of hundreds of people.
Amazing.
I can do the voices.
Yes.
And sing and dance.
Yes.
And British accents. When I'm in front, like years ago, I was a storyteller at a large church in Morgantown. And when I would be on the stage in front of all these kids doing this thing that I do, I felt in the core of me, I am in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. That is so incredible. There was this gap in time when I changed churches and didn't have that experience that I hope everybody has that in their job.
Yes.
In their job.
Yes. I just listening to you say that, I got so excited, because that's the ultimate. And that's really what drives a lot of the work I do, is I want to help people get there, because I think there are people who want that for themselves, but don't know what it is or don't know how to get there,
Yes.
don't know, they've never experienced that feeling,
Oh
but
my
they're so
gosh.
desperate for it.
Yeah. And you see so many people that are dissatisfied in their job.
And you spend so many hours a day
Yeah,
working.
exactly. Exactly. So I got that back as a body safety
I
educator.
love that.
So yeah, that is how my book baby came to be.
And how you became a published author
Yes.
and the owner of a publishing company.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you had people reach out yet about their books and wanting
Oh
those
my
to
gosh,
be published?
that's so funny that you say that. One thing I found is I'm very gifted and I delight in book promotion. And I don't think it's usual. I don't think it's normal.
No, and it's funny because I listen to a lot of authors talk about the fact that they enjoy the process of writing the book, but then they get frustrated, like Glennon Doyle. I don't know if you've ever, she'll talk a lot about, but then you have to go talk about the book that you just wrote, and that seems so odd. Just go read my book, know. And it seems like a lot of authors actually don't enjoy that promotion piece of it because they, are maybe a little bit more quieter or not as comfortable with the verbal aspect of what it takes.
There's something that has to be in place, I feel, for you to be excellent at sales and promotion. And you don't know this, but you played a huge part in this. Very early on, you got to read the manuscript before it went to press.
Yes.
And you were the first person, though I've heard it often since, to say, every child needs to read this book.
Yes.
And if that's in place, I think if you believe in your product, your service, what you're promoting, I think it's very easy to just tell anybody you meet about what you're doing.
If you believe in what you're doing and and the first time I read it, I believe that. I've read it many, many times since, and I still believe that. And it's true. I mean, I think the impact that you can have with this book, to me, it's limitless potential, honestly, in terms of what impact you can have. Would you, I don't want to, I want people to read the book. So I don't want to, dispel all that you might, find in here or share all that. But would you be willing to kind of tell us a little bit more about the actual story of The Brave Knight and what people will find?
A lot of times when you're in sales or publishing, you're supposed to write a pitch for the book, which is like 35 to 50 words that pretty much sum up your book. Nice. And my back cover copy does that. So I'm going to read this.
I think it's on here.
Once upon a time, in a small town hidden at the foot of a high mountain, there lived a young girl and a dragon who were best friends until they weren't. So, that's what the book is about.
And you have all of the. Here's the thing: if you didn't even know what the book was supposed to be about, it's also a great book. It's a great story.
I know. Yes.
So you've got, a dragon and a knight and a girl. And, I mean, there's so many components to it that it's a great story.
Yes. So my graduate degree is in creative nonfiction. I mean, I've won awards for my fiction, but it feels like I feel more comfortable in nonfiction. But this story is very much fiction. Right. And it's an allegory, which means it has a hidden meaning.
Yes.
So this is what I believe. And what I hope for is that a child is going to read or hear this story and experience it in one of two ways. They're either going to say, well, that one character ended up not being a good friend. Or they're going to say, there is someone in my life who is saying those things to me and doing those things with and to me, and I am feeling like that character. So what I want to happen is, if they recognize themselves in the story, that's also, I don't think I've ever said this before. I did not name the characters so that any child can insert themselves into the narrative.
I didn't even realize. I didn't even notice that. You're right.
So they can insert
their own identity.
The person who's making
into...
them uncomfortable. They can insert that person into the character that does this shift in the story. So I wanted, the kid to recognize this behavior is not okay.
Yes.
That's another thing that we do in body safety education. I just have to clue you in on something, and listeners who have children and grandchildren, nieces and nephews, students, so often kids don't know the thing that is happening is wrong.
Yes.
Because the adult has built their world and what's okay and not okay.
Yes. Yes.
They've told the kid, this is what people do.
Yes. Yes.
This is my job to teach you certain things.
I'm an adult, and I'm a trusted person that you can trust.
So sometimes I'm in front of a group of kids and a child will say, this is happening to me. Are you saying it's not okay? And you mentioned it could be against the law. Sometimes
and by the way, it's not my fault.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm embarrassed to admit, but I'll say it. I didn't even know what grooming was until fairly recently.
Yes.
And the language around that and what it means and what it stands for. And so, but I also think a lot about just boundary setting in general for people. Learning how to use your voice, learning how to stand up for yourself, learning, you talked about one of your superpowers of asking for what you need, right?
Yes.
I think those are even conversations that we're not having enough with kids.
Absolutely.
About how to stand up for yourself, how to ensure that you're not taken advantage of, that you do know what your boundaries are and that you express those boundaries. So, I mean, and all of that is in this book.
Yeah. Robert actually assigned it as a education tool to illuminate sexual predators, but I believe it multitasks.
Yes.
With bullies.
Yes.
Friends headed down a bad path.
Yes.
Potentially not okay date mates, because they all do the same thing. You can only trust me. No one loves you like me. That person doesn't understand you. I do. Let's do this super exciting thing. Don't worry about the rules. We'll deal with the fault. And
those behaviors cut across a lot of different types of abuse.
Exactly.
Too.
Exactly.
So that's why, again, in case everyone doesn't know how passionate I am about this book, I am really passionate because of what it teaches. And also as a parent, and why I think every child should have it, as a parent, this could be an uncomfortable conversation for a parent to have, but the way the story is told, it creates such a good opener for discussion. And as you said earlier, you have discussion questions in the back that your daughter, I believe you said, helped with, which I think is helpful too, because again, if you want to talk about it, but you don't know what to say or you don't know how to start the conversation, it's right here. It's just... This is a no-brainer.
Yeah, I've actually had friends say, Diane, I was afraid to read your book because they thought it would be scary or say the word sexual predator or pedophile or anatomical body parts. It's not necessary. It is a fairy tale. It's a fairy tale.
Yes.
And then it just does the work it needs to do.
It's that allegory piece of, like I said, while also reading just a really good story. Yeah. It also gives you, and I'm sure you get asked a lot, which we can talk about as well, what the appropriate age range is for this book. But I do think probably, depending on what the age is of the child, what they take from it will be different as well.
Absolutely.
But I mean, do you have a recommended age range?
It was interesting when we were placing it on Amazon and then entering it in some book competitions. You had to say, like, is it early reader or middle grade? So it's essentially a children's book. I came across this one article that said some books should be rated E for everyone.
E for everyone.
I was like, I would like that on my book. And I was on another podcast with a woman who speaks a lot to college kids. She goes, college kids could use this book.
Yes.
Because it could be a bad date mate could look like this one character.
Yes.
But
yes, this is an example of what love is not.
Yes.
And people need to know that.
Yeah. But I would say in general, K through 8.
Okay. That
But
makes
then
sense.
I literally had friends with toddlers buying the book.
Yeah.
And so I created with Jesse a best practices for reading The Brave Knight with your child. So like if you've got a tiny, just read the book.
Yes.
Just read the story and say, how does this make you feel?
Yeah.
And when people have told me like I read your story to my child and they're just like, that character is doing and saying things that are not okay. Like the kids,
not a good friend.
Yeah, not a good friend.
Bad dragon.
Yeah, yes, yeah. So I sometimes I say in pandemic language, read this story with or to your child once a year, and it will inoculate them.
Yeah, you
against
need to
all the bullies,
them
the sexual predators.
Yes,
just
all types of abuse. Honestly, that's out there. And also, again, just the illustrations are so beautiful that even I just like looking at the design and the art piece. Probably because I can only draw stick figures, so I'm very jealous.
Yes,
but it's so well done. And I will say. For me, of course, I always look at things through a leadership lens. And when I read the book, there's a lot of leadership in this book to me as well, especially with courage. So to me, courage is a quality of a successful leader, self-leadership as well as, leading people and the ability to have courage, to use your voice. I want to hear your perspective on courage and what you've learned about using your voice.
Yeah. So on the courage piece, I was actually listening to Brene Brown this morning, and she talks about the root word of courage. We know this. We've read Atlas of the Heart.
Yes.
At the root of the word courage is cur, the Latin word that means heart.
Yes.
So at the heart of courage is heart. And I have had to exhibit courage on multiple occasions, and even just the book project.
Yes. Yes, that story you walked through, I feel like is such a good example of...
There is a internet entrepreneur, Michael Hyatt.
Oh, I've heard of him.
Yeah. And years ago, I listened to his podcast faithfully every week, and he gave a piece of advice that I think is excellent professionally and personally. When in doubt, do the next right thing.
Yes.
Do the next right thing.
Yes.
So that gave me courage. Like I'm on track. I'm just doing I'm going through the index cards. I'm just doing the next right thing. Yeah,
I love that. Did you get through all the index cards?
I did, but I keep creating them. Because it's my goal setting now.
Yes.
When I was younger, I used to have this naive thought. I used to think that in this life, everyone will go through one bad thing. And then
then you're done. You check that box.
You get your free pass for the rest of life. Yes.
No other bad things can happen now.
So I used to think my abuse experience. I'm done.
That was your one bad thing.
It's just going to be a slicky slide from here on out.
How's that working out for you?
So what I sometimes say is life kept raising the bar on worst night ever. And I think this happens for every single person.
Yeah.
Bad things happen. Loved ones get really difficult diagnoses, or maybe you do. Maybe you're sitting at someone's bedside in the hospital and they're experiencing excruciating pain. Maybe you have a family member or a friend that struggles with mental illness. Maybe your parent has dementia and they do not know you anymore. You lose people.
Yes.
You lose people. Not to tempt the universe, but I feel like I've finally gotten to the point where I'm not afraid anymore. Because I now have this track record of facing the hard thing
Mm-hmm.
and coming out the other side.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't do it alone.
Yeah.
I get by with my friends and family,
Mm-hmm.
and I get by with my faith.
Mm-hmm.
So my superpower of asking for what I need
Mm-hmm.
in these kind of circumstances, it often looks like texting 10 people a prayer request. I need you to pray right now because I have to have a very hard conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what support you get in doing that? Because like you said, you're not alone.
Yeah. And sometimes the bad thing doesn't go away, but this peace and this equipping just descends on you.
Yeah.
And it's a great comfort.
Yeah. And every time you go through these moments, then it's teaching you, I can do it. I can face the next battle. I can go through the next crisis because I've already survived all these things back here.
Yeah, it's just you're building a foundation.
Yeah. But the key to that is taking the step.
Yeah.
And you're right. A lot of times I think it is just do the next right thing or do the next best thing. And it doesn't have to be a huge step.
Right.
These little tiny, like you said, you just started working through. This is the process I think I need to go through. I'm just going to start working through these steps. And then all of a sudden, you put all of those together and you look back and you have a publishing company, a published book. You're on podcasts.
Yeah.
Doing all these things. I mean, imagine if you just said, well, it's, I have a 6-week deadline, but I'm being told it's going to take 2 years. So I guess it just won't happen or I'll have to wait 2 years.
There's a saying, do it afraid. That works really well.
Yeah.
It's related to courage. Maybe it's a definition of courage.
Yeah.
But
Face the fear, feel the fear, do it anyway. Right?
Yeah.
But that's hard. And again, why I feel like it is a quality of great leadership, because there are a lot of times where you have to have really tough conversations or do hard things or things that you just don't really like to do or want to do, but it's the right thing or it's that next thing that you should be doing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Another thing that I've learned is, I know I heard this recently, competence leads to confidence.
Yes.
So the doing of each task in order and getting, having success. Oh my goodness. I definitely feel more confident than like a year ago.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Because now if you go on, which I'm hoping that you will be writing more books, I would assume that maybe, there's other things in the works, but imagine now what your starting point is at the prospect of publishing a book.
It definitely would be easier the second time around.
Right.
But I love the confidence I have. I actually made, I would recommend this to anybody. It's kind of goes along with celebrating the wins along the way. So, because I wanted to go back to one of those agents that was really kind to me and say, I'm just going to update you and show you everything that I've done, I did a chronological The Brave Knight win list.
Ooh.
And I sent it, our mutual friend, Eva Stewart, who's a life and career coach. She was at Disney for 20 years. She connected me with a young woman she was mentoring at WVU who thought she might want to be a publicist.
Oh, very cool.
So I reached out to her and said, might I compensate you nicely?
Yes.
For helping me with publicity. Yes. And she goes, I'm actually across the pond right now getting a master's degree in children's literature. I'm like, wow.
Paying you nicely will be even higher when you get back from that.
Yeah. But she goes, I'd love to work with you. Why don't you send me what you've been doing?
Wow.
So I sent her my win list. And she goes, okay, Diane, sit down right now, read your list, and pat yourself on the back.
Yes.
Celebrate you.
Yes.
She goes, because I know people that have their books They're young adult books optioned with Netflix, and they have not done half the promotion that you've done.
Wow.
She's like, this is extraordinary.
Wow.
And we will do big things when I get back in
when does she come back?
September.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was really,
wow.
I did it just yesterday. Every now and then when you need a
you do.
pick up,
you do.
just look at the things you've accomplished.
Yes. I can't remember if I've talked about it on this podcast before or not, but my marble jar that I have, which I know Brene has a marble jar. Mine, I use it a little bit differently.
Marble jar.
But when I was first starting my business, I'm very impatient. And so like many people, you know, it's like if you go on a diet and you're like, well, I've been dieting for 12 hours. Why haven't I lost 30 pounds? You know, like, I get a little impatient. And so I started just writing down every time I took some sort of action to move my business forward. I would write the date, I would write the action on a sheet of paper, but then I would put a marble in a mason jar. And then I had a quote on top, and I'm going to mess up the quote because I can't remember it fully, but it's something to the effect of, you know, when you plant seeds, you don't then dig them up and question why they haven't grown and bloomed yet. You know, you let them mature and go through the process. And, you know, when it's time, the right time, then those, you know, seeds bloom and you know, turn into whatever it is that you planted. And so it's like, oh, yeah, why? Yeah, you don't go back and dig up the seeds and like, why haven't you bloomed yet? You know, what are you doing in there? What's this process look like underground? You know, so I would have to read that quote because it was on top of the mason jar. Every time I put a marble in the jar, I had to look at that quote and remind myself that you are planting the seeds, you are doing the things that you need to do to grow the business. And what was cool is because I'm a visual person, you know, you start seeing those marbles add up, right?
Yeah.
So at first it's like, oh, I just have one marble in the jar. And then it was like, oh, I have the you know, the bottom of the jar is covered. And now I have multiple, you know, and now I don't do that anymore because I've gotten, you know, I think past that point where I feel the need to have that visual reminder, but I still have that marble jar with a quote right on my desk to just remind me, you know, because you're right, you do have those moments where you start to get frustrated or negative self-talk like, this is never going to work. I'm never going to be able to do this. And so I leave it there as a reminder of yes, you can do it.
Yeah, I have a stack of all my tasks. I kept the stack.
Yeah.
That I laid out on the kitchen table, and they're numbered and some of them are dated. But if you at all have an achiever bent, you're just plowing ahead.
Yes.
The next thing.
Yes.
The carrot dangling. And you don't stop to celebrate all that you've accomplished. And that can fuel you and your team.
Yes.
Karen was good at that.
Good.
At Libera, at the end of every year, we just look back on all we did.
Yeah,
in
and
that
remind yourself
year.
of those accomplishments.
Yeah.
Well, were you the one that started Libera does their 5 things that we accomplished this week or 5 like and it's very focused on impact. Here's the difference we made, here's the impact we made, and I love that because you can be busy but not actually accomplish or make an impact.
It goes both ways. So I said if people are going to donate and give us money, $20 or $20,000, they need to trust us.
Yes.
They need to know.
And they want to know what you're doing with that money.
They need to know that we're doing good work. And so on the flip side, you want to be able to populate that infographic with 5 weighty action items.
Yes. 5 ways we made impact.
Yes. Yeah. So we did that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was a good thing we did.
I think that's a good business practice, a good leadership practice, a good personal success practice to look back on your week and think about, okay, you know, how many wins did I have this week? How much of an impact did I have this week? Because, you know, you can just get stuck just doing busy work and running to meetings and, you know, having lunches and shaking hands and kissing babies and not really, you know, am I moving the ball forward or not?
Yeah. Not to sound overly financially motivated. Like sometimes the question I ask is, what can I do to earn income today?
Like
just
that.
Random activity, hamster wheel running.
Yes.
Doesn't.
Yes.
contribute to the bottom line.
Yes.
So you got to focus on the activity that's
What's
actually
the question? What can I do to make income
to earn
today?
Yeah.
To earn income today.
You look at your task list and say, is this, I mean, I'm a victim of loving to mark off the to-do list and adding things. And I did this. I'm going to cross it out. And I'm going to add this. But yeah, what really makes an impact for yourself or your customer?
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
All right. So we talked about courage as being, I guess one of my qualities of leadership that I think makes a great leader. But I'd like to hear yours. What do you think? What qualities make a great leader? I want to hear Diane's perspective on this.
Okay. I took notes. Okay. So I kind of have limited experience in the workplace because I graduated college. I worked a couple of years. I got married and chose to stay home when we had children.
So you're leader of the household.
Yeah. I never always thought we'd be a dual income household and that I would work and someone would take care of my child and then never say never.
Yeah, never say never.
Never say never.
That did not happen.
I just decided I wanted to be the person seeing the first step. And so I chose to stay home for 20 years. And then I went to work for Libera. Just for 2 years. I actually stepped away from Libera. The week after I decided to produce a book because I knew, because I am committed to self-awareness.
Yes.
And personal development.
Yes.
I knew my strengths and my weaknesses. And I knew that I have focus issues. And time management is not my strong suit. So I knew I couldn't. I literally said to my boss, I can't build your dream and my dream.
Yes.
And she was so gracious, good boss form. She said, I will miss you. But what we stand for is equipping and launching women and girls to move into their best life.
Yes.
And it's going to be a joy to watch you do that.
Wow.
Yeah. So what I have my boss of 2 years to as an example, and my husband, who we have a beer distributor, and he also has a second full-time job as a college football official.
Wow.
And he's a really good mentor at that.
Nice.
So he's often leading people and helping them move up to the next level. So when I look at when I listen to podcasts and I look at the people that I have around me, I believe things that bosses should do. And this is like a wish list. This is my dear employer. This is what,
great.
This
Diane
is
speaks
what,
on behalf of all
the employees. All the employees. I believe it's important to have a caring for your employees inside the office and out. I believe it's important to respect everyone in the office, everyone in the building, everyone in your life. I think you should balance criticism with positive feedback.
Yes.
Because I think most of us have heard the quote, most people don't quit jobs, they quit bosses.
100% correct. Yes.
And I think it can often be because you're so beaten down. You give me so much criticism and you never tell me what I'm doing right. I'm going to find someone who will.
Yes.
So I think that's super important. Always be open to new ideas and ways of doing things. This summer I was at West Virginia Writers, and there was a filmmaker there who had made a short film, The Most Dangerous 7 Words in the Human Vocabulary.
Oh, gosh.
We've never done things that way before.
Yes.
Locked in the past or the status quo. So I think people should be open to learning new ways of doing things, integrating new technology.
Never say never.
Never say never. Never say never. So
that's
just that.
good.
Change your mind. Like, I wasn't doing things the right way.
Yeah.
Thank you for showing me a new way.
Yes.
A third way, don't micromanage.
Yes.
You hired the person because of their resume.
Because of their gifts.
And the interviews and their gifts and their portfolio.
Yes.
Let them use them. Don't hover. Don't hover. And think, And then I would say be generous with praise and compensation. And compensation can be your salary.
Right.
It can be perks. It can be the staff's going out to lunch, my treat today.
Yeah.
So those are some things that I think good leaders. I don't have a staff per se, but if I ever do.
I mean, leadership is all around us, and we're leading all the time. And you are running a business. You are a leader. But every interaction you have, when we have lunch together, that's opportunities for leadership. It's just because you demonstrate those things, the caring, the respect, the praise, but balancing with criticism too. I mean, you do that. And obviously you value it too. Yeah. But I agree. If you put it in a workplace setting, absolutely. Yeah. I don't think I could find someone who would argue, no, I don't want my boss to treat me that way. Those are beautiful qualities.
Do you have anything you would add?
Definitely a lot of those. I think a lot of what I focus on is around trust. And that connects. So caring, I think a lot of times what I'll notice is that people go after a leadership role because of the title and the compensation that goes with it, because maybe they feel that's their only path to make more money, is typically, okay, well, now you have to lead people. Or sometimes companies just promote people because they were very, very good at an individual contributor role. And so now you're going to lead the people that do that. But there are people out there that just really don't like it and don't actually care and don't want to invest in others. And to me, it's almost like when you have kids. When you have kids, it's like not about you anymore, right? Yeah. You can't have a sick day. Nobody cares. Those kids don't care if you're sick. You got to show up, right? Yes. And to me, that's a lot of what leadership is about, is that it's not about you anymore. It's not about what you're accomplishing, what you're producing. Your job is to lift these people up to be better than you, just like you want better for your children than you had for yourself, right? Yeah. So to me, in order to successfully do that, you've got to pour into people. You have to know them inside and out. You have to know what motivates them and what they care about, and you have to care about those things for them. And sometimes it's giving them opportunities that you want, but knowing that it's the right and best thing for them. Giving them that hard feedback sometimes because it's what they need to hear to make them better. But so much of that has to do with building a trusting relationship in the first place and caring about them and caring about their success. So, I mean, really, it's what you have on your list. Yay. You did good.
Awesome.
All right. So what is do you have an official leadership definition? What Diane Tarantini's definition of leadership is?
So I'm a writer. I'm nonfiction.
Oh, yeah.
I do research.
This is a good assignment.
I do research. So I actually Googled dozens of leadership definitions.
I love this.
But one thing you just said resonated with me. It's the word, you didn't say the word, but it made me think of it, integrity. So to me, integrity is saying what you're going to do and then doing it. And I think when you have integrity, it builds trust.
Yeah.
Yes. And so.
Yes, because people can rely on you and your word.
Yeah. So I think, you always want integrity in a leader and you want to have it yourself. But I came up with my own definition of leadership.
I cannot wait. This is going to be good.
I'm going to make a social media image out of this for sure.
Yes, do it.
Leadership is having a vision and inspiring and equipping others to work with you to achieve it.
Ooh, well done.
Because you want it.
I like that.
You want your people, gosh, they trust you. They trust your character. They really would follow you to the ends of the earth. Yes. And you want to be able to, oh my goodness. I remember years ago at a church meeting, a guy stood up and he said, people are attracted to vision. They're not attracted to a sinking Titanic.
Ain't that the truth?
So it's like, and I think that's how some leaders lead.
Oh,
we must do better. Next quarter has to be better. We're losing ground. We're losing momentum. The competition, blah, blah, blah.
Falling. Yes. Oh my gosh. Say it one more time. That is so good.
Seth Broadhurst, if you're listening, you get this credit.
Oh my gosh.
People aren't
People are attracted to a vision, right?
People are attracted to vision. They are
Yeah.
not attracted to a sinking Titanic. So lead with beauty, not disaster.
Yes. Yes.
What can be.
Hope.
Hope. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Diane, you're the best.
Thanks. I'm growing.
I love you to death. I love this book. You have to tell everyone, please, how they can buy this, because this needs to be in the hands, not just of 7,000 foster children in West Virginia, though it does need to be in their hands. It needs to be in the hands of every child. So how do people get this book?
Yeah, so you can go to Amazon and get it. Just Google The Brave Night book by Diane Tarantini and I'll come up. But I will say, when we are talking about fair compensation, my illustrator and I do not get fairly compensated when you purchase from Amazon. You can contact me directly through social media, Diane Tarantini, author on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I have a blog, DianeTarantini.com. But my ex-boss, who still cares about me, created a really great website for the book. It's thebravenight.com. And of course, Night
it's
has
just
a
all
K.
strung together, right? Thebravenight.com.
So at the top is a link to Amazon, but if you go all the way down, there's a very detailed way to purchase it from PayPal. And then if you purchase from me, my books that I had printed have better paper, better printing process. The book is signed by me. It is signed by Jesse. I put in the best practices for reading The Brave Night with your child. I wrap it in green tissue paper with.
Diane's very fancy, and she has beautiful handwriting. So when she says it gets signed, and I mean it's like I don't even. What is this? This is gorgeous.
Diane Tarantini.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
So, the presentation is good. Nicole's like, I don't know how long you can scale that, Diane. But, one day I'll have to have an employee to mail out copies to
and
all
then
the
you're
people
going to
who buy
come
it.
back on and you're going to talk about what that experience has been like.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
being
having
on
me.
This
is
show.
a delight.
Oh my gosh, you're fabulous. Now, are you aware that we do a lightning round to wrap each of our episodes?
I am, and I'm scared that I didn't get to
no.
study and prepare for this part
of the lightning round.
Okay.
It's 60 seconds to answer as many questions as you can. I'm going to get my timer started.
Get a drink of water.
Okay, you ready? When your mark gets set, go. What season best fits your personality?
I love spring. So many flowers.
Yes. What's your most used emoji in text?
The bug-eyed surprise face.
I love that.
Yes.
What book, song, movie, or podcast has had the greatest impact on your life? That's got to be hard.
This is going to be out of the realm of what we talked about. It's one of the most important books I've ever read. It's Atul Gawande's Being Mortal.
What's it called?
Being Mortal.
Being Mortal.
Written by Atul Gawande.
Oh, okay.
And it's just about life.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. I haven't heard that one. What's something about you that surprises people when they first hear it?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll just throw this out here. Because I have 3 older brothers, I can burp really loud and hit really hard.
And Diane's very petite, so that probably would surprise, and very nice, so that probably would surprise people. Okay.
Oh, we're done?
That went really fast. Didn't help that I made you repeat one of your answers.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much
You're
for being
welcome.
here.
This was great.
Like I said, limitless potential for the Brave Night, and I can't wait to see where it goes, and I can't wait to see where you go from here. So thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Same with you and your endeavors.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're my friend.
Thank you, friend.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the time we have today. Thank you so much for joining us on Leadership Rediscovered. And until next time, shine bright, everyone.